everyone. Welcome. I'm your host, Sean Crystal Parker, and this is episode 5 of Real Shift Happens. Thank you so much for joining me for another week. I can't believe it's already been 5 weeks. Time flies, yes. Well, this week, our spirit, mind, body, or S&B discussion topic is synchronicities. 1111. Are you seeing the number sequence like 1111 or 1010? Have you thought of a friend lately and then that person calls? Well, these are the type of examples we're talking about. But first, we definitely got to get into that 5-minute focus shift right now.
Returning to the source is serenity.
I will now guide us as we begin the meditation. I'd like you to get comfortable in your chair and relax. Close your eyes. Start with taking 3 deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. As you settle into a natural rhythm of breath, knowing throughout the practice you'll hear sounds inside the room and sounds outside the room. These are not distractions, not disruptions, simply what's happening around us as we sit and breathe. Begin to notice the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Gently guide the attention and focus on the chest. As you breathe in, feel the rise. And as you breathe out, feel the chest fall. Simply continuing this practice, observing the sensation of the breath. Notice the mind as it wanders. Release that thought, returning attention and focus to the breath. learning to be comfortable in stillness. Again, taking 3 deep breaths. And slowly opening the eyes, slowly begin to move. Welcome back. And wasn't that great? Just 5 minutes of peace. That's all it takes. And then, like I said before, you can definitely increase that time as you go along. Well, I wanted to also share with you today a few of the scientific reasons to start meditating according to Psychology Today. If you go online, there's an article that lists about 20 different reasons. I'm going to name off a few here. For your health, it increases your immune function, and it can help decrease pain if you have that. It also can help decrease inflammation at the cellular level. For your happiness, it can help increase your positive emotion, help decrease depression and anxiety, and of course, stress. Also, it can make you feel less lonely, they're saying here. And I think that's true, because you get to know yourself on a deeper level. It improves your ability to be introspective. Like I said, you get to know yourself. And they're saying it also increases gray matter in your brain, which is, wow, it's incredible. It also increases cortical thickness in areas related to paying attention in your brain. It also, it increases your focus and attention, improves your memory, improves your ability to create and think outside the box. And it's, I guess, all around good. There's a few more things there, but if you look up benefits of, meditation online, you will find an abundance of resources, always. So anyway, let's get into our SMB topic today, which is Synchronicities 11:11. Well, last week we were talking about the dark night of the soul in episode 4. And I mentioned that I was having a lot of synchronicities, and they've seemed to increase more and more lately. So I want to go deeper into what synchronicities are and why they occur, and also why we should maybe pay closer attention to what some call coincidences that happen in our lives. Well, the first thing to know, if you are experiencing sort of weird coincidences or synchronicities, and they're happening frequently, you need to know that you don't need to freak out about it. It's actually happening to everyone on a certain level all the time. So don't feel like, someone is, after you or messing with you. It definitely is happening to everyone, whether they actually notice it or not. And that's the key difference. So for me, I've been seeing the number sequence 1111 or 111 at least like 1 to 3 times a day, probably just about every single day almost, for probably the last 5 years. So, almost every day when I look at the clock at that point, at that time, I see 1:11 or 11:11. It could be in the morning or, in the afternoon or early morning. It could be in my car. It could be in my house, or even in other people's homes. Also, it could be anywhere. It could be an address. It could be mostly it's on the clocks, but it could be anywhere. And then lately, I've been seeing a lot of 222s and 555s. And those I've been seeing mostly out. Well, I guess I see those on the clock too a lot, but also out when I'm out and about. Like I'll see, someone's phone number with that sequence. It's 2222 or 5555 or 555. So it's either three or four numbers. And it frequently happens, it's just all day, any time of day. So years ago when it first started happening to me, I remember Googling just the number sequence 1111, 1111. And for the most part, I found a lot of sites all saying pretty much the same thing, that these are angel numbers. And each of these angel numbers, there's a particular meaning to them. And for the most part, this meaning stems somewhere from numerology. So if you want to know the meanings that people believe are angel numbers and the meanings to that, just do a quick search on Google for angel numbers, and you'll see tons of articles and videos letting you know kind of a breakdown of what each one is. And it goes from like 1111 or even 00, I think, all the way to 9999. Everywhere in between. I think there's probably some 1010s, some 1212s, some 911s. So if you are interested in what angel numbers are and what they mean, definitely look that up. So this actual episode, we're not going to go into the angel numbers, mainly because I think that I found a better explanation, at least for me, and I wanted to share this. So the expression of synchronicity was originally coined by the Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst Carl Jung, who was influenced by Freud. Okay, and he was the founder of analytical psychology and was a very prominent thought leader in philosophy, religion, anthropology, literature, and archaeology, and psychiatry, of course. And he's best known for his theory on the collective unconscious, which ties into his explanation for synchronicities. Jung theorized that these meaningful coincidences manifest in the physical world through common archetypes or recurrent symbols that have been throughout history, and that basically dwell within the collective unconscious within everyone. Jung's definition of synchronicity is an experience of two or more events which occur in a meaningful manner but which are causally unrelated. In order to be synchronistic, the events must be related to one another temporally, and the chance that they would occur together by random chance must be very small. So basically, it's a meaningful coincidence. And this is something that people have been experiencing since the beginning of time. For example, the other day, I was at home and I went to text my son's father, and we planned to meet up later that evening. Well, I left the house shortly after that to pick up my son from school. And who do I pass by in the car? My son's father, of course. And so I text him and tell him I just saw him, and he tells me, pull over and let's meet up really quick right now instead of later. There can be times I'm thinking about someone and then they contact me in some way, text or call me, usually within that day or the next day. One time recently, a friend told me that she had got a tarot card reading, and I remember thinking like how I wanted to get one too, but I knew I didn't have the cash to actually pay anyone to do my reading, and also I don't even know anyone who does readings. So I just kind of let that thought go. And sure enough, about a week later, I meet a woman who out of the blue gives me a tarot reading for free, which was right on point. Literally exactly what I needed to hear at that time. So there's so many examples that I can't even think of all of them. But they happen really frequently in my life, and probably yours too, if you notice them. Jung believed that this occurrence happens through the collective unconscious as sort of a guide for us to decipher and to follow. And maybe perhaps this theory of Jung's combined with numerology is where the angel number chart derived from. Also, there was this book that I read called Divinely Touched. It's called Divinely Touched, Transform Your Life. And it's by Mary DeSano. And it's really interesting. It's actually out on Amazon. But this woman literally followed synchronicities in her life to the point that it kind of drove her crazy. And it landed her in a mental hospital. She believed that, God was speaking to her. She was Christian. So she believed, it was God giving her all these signs through, literally through signs out, it could be she's driving down the road and she sees a billboard sign that says something, and she, listens to it. Or she started to hear, voices on the TV telling her to do certain things. She started to see different demonic faces in people, and she, eventually tried to kill herself and ended up in a mental hospital. Well, after that, she came out. She ended up seeking a lot of help from psychics all over the world, and they were all telling her that she was a divine being from another planet, and that her mission was to save the world, basically, or save the universe even. And so, she even went to the point of having an exorcism performed on her because some of these psychics and mediums were telling her that she had a demonic presence in her that was keeping her from, basically doing what she was meant to do in this world. So it was a fascinating story because it's a true story. But it made me wonder if extreme cases like that, is she, kind of going in and out of different dimensions or realities? Are other people that are deemed as crazy kind of having these types of syncs in their lives? And just, and then they're being deemed as crazy? Who knows? But that was just an interesting story. And if you want to, read up on that, read her book. It's really good. But, ultimately she did write the book. And I guess that was what she felt was like her purpose through it all, was to kind of write this book and tell people about synchronicities and, let the world know that these are signs from God, basically. And throughout history, people have come up with various explanations for these occurrences. And usually they do relate to one's own beliefs. Like Mary DeSano, she believed it was God. And also they were telling her that Jesus was one of her guides, and that the Archangel Michael was one of her guides, and Buddha, I think, and all of these, highly religious figures were her guides. So, I don't know. It was strange, kind of, but interesting too, because you hear about cases, and we all have cases really where we have these weird coincidences happen, but I've never heard of someone like literally following every single one of these, coincidences or synchronicities in their life. And, I don't know. It's definitely something to think about. But, people believe like it could be from their higher selves. It could be from God. It could be angels leading you. Some people say it's the universe. Some people are saying it's their ancestors leading you, and also, or leading us, to what we need to do, or warning us of something. Many people have paid attention to the synchronicities in their life and have made significant changes in their lives, or it led them to their purpose in life. Some people say, it led them to their spouse. So many different things. There's another book called The Synchronicities. I'm sorry, it's called Synchronicities, The Art of Coincidence, Choice, and Unlocking Your Mind. And this is by the author and clinical psychologist, Dr. Kirby Surprise. And he takes like a slightly different approach to this phenomena. He breaks it down to what we believe, and the way we look for the patterns in the world is what generates these synchronistic events and they mirror our own thoughts and assumptions. He defines them as coincidences in which a meaning or message seems to be conveyed by the events to the observer. They happen when the inner and outer worlds become synchronized. So the main difference in Dr. Surprise's theory as compared to Jung is that he believes we are producing the synchronicities in the environment from within ourselves individually, and that this can converge with other people's syncs when someone else is kind of synced in on that line of probability with you, so to speak. Whereas Jung, he believed that the collective unconscious as a whole produced syncs in the outer world through various symbols. So basically, everyone's thoughts, feelings, and emotions as a whole all have a common core to them, and they can be characterized through certain symbols or universal patterns, and that these are being manifested into the outer world via syncs or synchronicities. So both agree that these are real occurrences. And actually, though, Dr. Kirby, he suggests we have more control over the syncs and our environment than we think we do. And also then that, Jung theorized. Dr. Kirby believes, according to the theory of probability, that we have approximately 3 to 6% chance to alter our own environment through our thoughts and emotions and assumptions. And kind of like in a scientific study, the more that we're aware of this fact, the more we can control it. So like scientists have long known that in a scientific experiment, the outcome can be altered by the tendency of the observer to see what he expects to see. So this is kind of why they have double-blind studies, to try to eliminate the observer bias, because when we were looking at it, we change the outcome because we expect something, no matter whether you're consciously or unconsciously consciously expecting a certain outcome, that expectation is there, and we know now that can cause a bias on the experiment. So Dr. Kirby believes we as observers of our own worlds and lives can create more and more things because we expect to see them. So if you continue to expect to see them, you're going to start noticing them more and more in your environment. And you can also turn that off. You can kind of not pay attention to them, and they will become less and less. And he believes since they are a mirror of our own consciousness and our feelings and emotions and thoughts, that this will help us become more aware of ourselves. So when we pay attention to those things, they may be signs, pay attention to how you're feeling and all this. Either way it goes, though, these synchronicities are a natural part of life. And whether we notice them or not, or pay attention to them, is the determining factor in how minor or how intense the synchronicities are in your life. So, I definitely think that they can help you and become like a guide if you allow it to take you kind of within yourself to find the answers. Because ultimately, that's kind of where all the answers are. They lie within us. So no matter what we believe in, if it's God, if it, the universe, our higher selves, whatever that source is, for most people, when they do say they hear God or this or their intuition, we hear that calling and that voice from within. So it should always lead you back to within yourself to figure it out and to find out what's right for you. And I found a few suggestions on how to kind of get more meaning out of these synchronicities in your life. The first is pay attention to them. Notice how you feel when you see them or when it happens. Notice what's going on in your life. And the more you pay attention, the more they happen. So, it could definitely be some type of guide leading you to something that you need for yourself. So pay attention. Keep a journal of them. If how you feel when it happens, write that down. Write what happened down, because we have a tendency to forget them, almost like a dream. It's weird because, even for this, as I was trying to recollect, like some of the syncs that I've had, like there's been so many, and I can only think of the ones that I actually talked about here. So writing them down would be a good idea if you want to really keep track, and then you can also go back and look at them and see if there's a pattern there of what, and see how it relates back to you personally. Another thing is if you have a question or a problem, ask for help. Ask that question. Ask how you can solve this problem, and then be prepared to pay attention to the signs and to take action. Because when you ask, most of the time we do receive answers, but we're just not paying attention to what those answers are, or sometimes we do and we just don't want to do it. So, it's up to you to kind of figure out what's best for you when it comes to taking action and seeing those signs. Also, be playful with your perceptions. Find the opportunity in every event, even if it's not so good. Start to see life as if every event is meant to be in order for you to get you closer to your goal or your purpose in life. And so this way, life is ups and downs. So this way, when things bad do happen or don't go right, we're not taking it so hard, even though it's hard. But we can see that maybe there's something there that we need to learn or pay attention to. Stay positive. trust your gut. Your intuition is there to help you and put you on the right path and guide you. So deep down, we all know what is best for our own self. Let that inner guide show you and guide you. So I hope that helps you understand synchronicities a little better, and this will encourage you to do a little more research for yourself and try to put those pieces of the puzzle together of how those synchronicities pertain to your life. So next week, we will, of course, have our 5-minute focus shift, and we're going to discuss the shadow side. So what is the shadow side, and do you have a shadow side? We shall see. Don't forget, you can support our podcast on the Anchor. Go to anchor.fm/realshifthappens. And also, please subscribe on any of your favorite platforms. And you can also drop us a message through the Anchor FM app by searching up our profile, Real Shift Happens Wellness Podcast. And then tap the voice message button and leave us a message. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts on the shadow side for next week, and even your thoughts on synchronicities. What have you had synchronicities? What kind of synchronicities have happened to you? And, share your story. And if you let us, we'll hopefully, share that with the audience next week. But until then, real shifters, go within and make real shift happen. Peace.